what the f is a Morini Moto? After doing a little bit of research, here's what I found out. Morini Moto is some old Italian brand, you know? It's like the other Italian brand, and I don't mean Aprilia. Morini Moto, it's one of those old Italian brands, yeah. But they went out of business a few years ago, but they're back, sort of, thanks to China. You review a couple China bikes and everyone's calling you, wanting you to check out their China bike. No, according to Morini Moto though, they may be assembled in China, but they are developed, designed, and engineered in Italy. Of course, that's not really true either. If you actually know what this bike is at its heart, it's a Versys 650 frame motor setup. I think CF Moto is actually building this for them. And if that's true, and they needed some bikes to be built real quick, well, they already had it through CF Moto, this couple bikes using this frame and motor. And if you look at all of the Morini Moto motorcycles, they're all built on this frame and motor. It's not actually 3 unique motorcycles you see on their website, which is not a problem. A lot of people do that. I'm not beating them up for it. I'm just saying. So it's an Italian bike. It's really a Chinese bike with some Japanese. We don't know what the hell it is. However, it is littered with some pretty interesting parts. We've got front Arshini suspension, Brembo brakes front and rear with a pretty good ABS system, spoked tubeless rims with a 17 and a 19. These are Pirelli Scorpion rally tires, which are actually really good tires. And this bike is a heck of a price. They're currently going for this, and leftover ones are going for this. I mean, it's a lot of bike for the money. However, at the end of the day, at its heart, it's a Versys 650, a pretty boring bike to ride. It's only around 50 something horsepower, and this bike is kind of heavy at 500 some odd pounds. So I mean, does it really have a chance? I mean, yeah, it's littered with some good stuff, but how's that actually translate?
In actuality, it's pretty good. An incredibly comfortable bike, which you can see here. I mean, man, this sitting position is awesome. You do feel like you're kind of sitting into the bike a bit, not on top of it. They've taken a platform and made it better. This is such a nice place to be. And no one's directly behind me. The brakes on this bike, what do you think, Mr. Longhorn? Aren't these good brakes? Yeah. They agree, they know what's up. The ABS doesn't let it get out of control. You could bury these brakes and it just handles it. By putting a 19 though on the front of this bike and some better suspension, some other better components, they've built the bike that Versys owners have been asking Kawasaki to build. They just never would do it. People have been wanting a more adventure-friendly Versys, and they kind of went the other way. It blows my mind how often the market seems to just not listen to what people want. I'm not even into Versys 650s, but I know the community would love one a little more adventure savvy. They don't want a 21-inch front wheel version. There's plenty of bikes like that. They want this. Now when the road does straighten out, I will say the engine on this thing is pretty boring. And don't get me wrong, it's not like it struggles out here on the open road or anything. That's just fine. Pretty stable too, for that matter. Bro, this is just how people drive out here. Look, compared to the other 650 bikes and 700s and even up to 800 now parallel twins, this one is like the most lame. On this engine, you really got to get into the very top of the RPM range, and it finally has a little extra something at the very top. Nothing crazy. Don't get excited. It's not like it's just a little bit slower than like something like an MT-07 motor. It is a lot slower. It doesn't do the cool V-twin, parallel twin thing where it just cranks a lot of low-end torque. It's really not that strong of an engine. Feels like wheeling a Grom. One behind me. Let's do this real quick. Not very quick. And to get you even more bored, we don't have cruise control on this bike. So you're just going to have to manually operate this pretty meh engine. And meh is the best description of this engine. It's just meh. But in the gravel, it feels great in this kind of condition. Look, gravel roads are not off-roading, I know, for you guys hardcore, but this is not a hardcore adventure bike. I think for a lot of people, this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna get out there on the back roads, the old dirt gravel roads. A lot of the adventures I've done have been, my adventure riding has been on stuff like this. Obviously, we've done more hardcore stuff too, but I'm saying a lot of just the local stuff, the quick thing. When I'm not doing some long destination, I'm just going around to play around, and I want to go do a camping somewhere. It's this kind of riding right here. This bike does it so well. Hey girls. Oh dear. Are you one of these bags gonna be able to pop out and get me? There you go. That would have been the end of you, turtle. Move, kitty. This bike is a bit heavy, but it does hold its weight fairly low down. It's not too hard to maneuver this thing. Can't really blame Morini Moto for this bike being this heavy though. The Versus 650, the Ninja 650, any bike with this 650 is kind of a heavy bike. I'm wondering if it's just the engine itself. I am beating up on this engine a lot though. I should say that these engines, taking a lot of people a lot of distances, very trouble-free. This is a very reliable, solid engine. There we go. For a bike that's supposed to be like light off-road, you know, with a 19-inch front wheel, they put pretty aggressive tires on this bike, and I think they actually work great both on and off-road. I'm very impressed with these tires, actually. Oh, a little worried about that, but that actually handled it great. This big old seat's real comfortable, man. The ergonomics just really feel perfect to me. I'm around the 6 foot mark, which means I'm slightly under 6 foot. Nobody wants to admit it. I wouldn't change the bar height. I wouldn't change any of this. I think it's actually all really well set before we go any further. I'm gonna stop at this Exxon, grab me some fuel ropes, as they say. 87 or higher. Okay. That's what I thought. Like right here, there's a little rounded Allen there. Build quality, 3 gallons, and we weren't even all the way down. I love that. This has got a good sized tank on it. It should give us plenty of riding for the rest of the day. It's fun to play around here on these gravel roads. Just because it has a 19 on the front doesn't mean you can't actually take it to anything more extreme than this. I mean, like, look at my MT-07. Which has been made into a adventure bike. I'm sure that thing's a bit lighter than this and has a better motor, but it definitely doesn't have as good a suspension. The geometry of the suspension is worse too, and it's only on a 17 front. I've taken that thing places most people don't take their real adventure bikes to. Not to say it was the easiest to do that with it, but it wasn't terrible. With that, you're probably thinking, Jake, are you gonna take this thing on some proper off-road trails, like a dirt bike trail? No, they're insanely muddy, all the true trails right now around me. This is a demo bike, but if it was my bike, I'd throw some cages on this thing and oh yeah, dude, yeah. I'd probably put a high fender on it too, just because I love that look. Happily sit on roads like this with my bag on the back, tent, go find a nice campsite. Let's talk about this big old TFT here for a second. Very big, very easy to see. You know, you've got your general settings right there. We have our tire pressure, which is pretty cool. We're in the off-road mode. If I go set this, we can switch it from off-road to on-road or ride. I don't know if there's a difference really at all. In off-road, if we click set, we continue to hold it for a minute, we get ABS on or off, and we can set the ABS to off. Now that is full off. That is not rear off only or anything. No, it is completely off. Now if we cycle the key, it will turn it back on, just so you know, but it's pretty fast to turn it off if you are in those situations. The other 3 things you see here, you said about music, phone, and navigation. Now if we go to any one of these though, it won't do anything. We have to download an app, this one right here, Bike Fun. This app right here has to be open for any of this stuff to work. Even with that, I cannot get the phone thing to work. If we go here to music, we still actually can't do anything through this. I don't know the point of this. We can play music in here, and I've got like 1 song downloaded on here. We'll start playing it. I mean, but that's my phone and my headset. That's not... And if I go into this, I don't have control over it. I don't know what the point of that is. If we go down here to map, here's what it is. You can get it to open. Now that is cool. That is a really cool display, but I have to have the phone open here. And I know what you're thinking, okay, we'll mute the screen. Watch. Please open Fun, Moto Fun. So we have to actually have it open for it to work. I can click this little button right here, which like dims the screen, but it's still basically open. And you can't really stick this in your pocket because it's just easy for, you know, other things to get clicked. It's not actually paused. And you're also just forced to use whatever this app is. If you're gonna set up directions, you need to go over here to Map Book, type something in, 13 hours, no big deal. Go and yeah, it'll put it on there. What they really should do is try to get CarPlay onto this. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and let you just put this on there like that. That would be the much better way to do this. This user face isn't too bad, but this app, they're using somebody else's app for this. It's like some generic app that a lot of things use. So I would say don't bother with that. I would say instead, if you're gonna have to have your phone like that, basically out all the time, well then you might as well just mount your phone on your handlebars and use that, and you can use whatever app you want. Like right now I got Rever going right here. I got some jams going here. Or you can use whatever app you want. If you are gonna put your phone on the dash, you check out this video sponsor, Quad Lock. Quad Lock makes these awesome phone cases. You can customize it with this cool American badge if you so desire. They have this locking ring. It locks your phone in and really holds it secure on the bike. I've had this thing on my Supermoto on the racetrack going over jumps. I'm not concerned with it falling off. We also have the anti-vibration mount. Not that this bike has a lot of vibrations, but these dirt bikes sure do, and it's nice to have. And of course, we even have this charging head, so we're charging it as we ride. This bike was nice enough to have a USB on it, which of course you could just direct charge into. That's always an option. There's a lot of ways you can set one of these up. And I've also used the RAM mount system on this. That's one of the options you have. They have a lot of ways you can mount these. We went with the RAM mount, and what I like about the RAM mount is with this simple little clamp right here, I can easily move this from one bike to the other. I had this exact setup on the CF Moto 800 when I rode to Austin and back. At the end of the day, as much as I like this dash, my phone is a superior dash. Why not give yourself the most options? Why not just put your phone on there? If you're gonna do it, I suggest you do it with Quad Lock. Use code JAKE10. You can get 10% off of this. Link in the description. So big thanks to Quad Lock for setting me up with that, and thank you for being a sponsor of the video. I know I said I wouldn't take it any kind of hard off-roading, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I lied. Before we go in there, let us go. Oh, this is like straight up beach sand right here. I'm starting to question if I'm gonna be able to get out of here. Actually handled it just fine. I just don't want to pick up a bunch of speed because this is beach sand. We'll go. I wonder if I'll be able to get out of there. Oh, it's just a light adventure bike. Yeah, get down in the ditch, that'll help. Yeah! As I fire around here too, the water temps aren't flying up, which is nice to see for good measure here. I gotta get some pictures. This is just cool down here. Pretty easy with the Quad Lock. No, the ad's over, but I gotta brag where it's worth bragging, you know? I'm telling y'all the truth. This thing is very helpful. Let's go this way with it. This is more foolish. Okay, a lot more foolish. All right, we're gonna do this. We're hitting the sump here. I don't want to be on the suspension right here. Oh my. You have great timing. I've only just got stuck. If you don't mind, I'll maybe grab this handles. Thanks. Thanks, yeah, I'm good. There's my itchy boot moments for this trip. Making the poor locals have to stop and help me out. And all you can do is just sit there like an idiot, like, sorry, I'm dumb, hee 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 hee. Anyway, I checked the bike out, it looks fine. I think before we push our luck, let's get on out of here. The big thing is if it does start to get stuck again, we can't just spin the tire like that. My fault right there. You gotta keep the momentum up, and if you don't have it, you need to back up and get it, like right here. We did not want to let it sink in here. These Pirelli Rally tires, they are good though. I would do this when it's like 95 degrees out.
I'm sweating all over. This thing is fun. I can't believe how fun this bike is. I think would fit the bill of a lot of people out there. I think there's a lot of people that are looking for an adventure bike and they think they want a Tanner or a Desert X or whatever, but I think you actually would want this. Now, there's always going to be some risk of buying one of these because it is Morini Moto, a brand that essentially is a new brand. And obviously with the type of pricing they have on leftover models, it shows that they're not just flying off the shelves. Now, between CF Moto and Kawasaki, we know things like the engine and probably a number of other components around the engine you'll probably always be able to get parts for. This rim, suspension come from a supplier. You could always probably find those, the brakes. But Morini Moto, let's say for instance, I crash and break this plastic in a couple years and Morini Moto no longer around, what do I do? It's a risk, not because it's from China necessarily, but because we don't know if Morini Moto is going to be around in a couple more years. We hope they do. I'd like to see them succeed with this thing. I think they're doing something fun here, but there is a risk. I mean, this is not an established brand, realistically, but it may be worth the risk. I don't know. I can't say for sure. That's something you're going to have to make your own opinion on. If you do want to see these videos uncensored, ad-free, and early, go over to Patreon, just $1 a month. If you do, join my Discord, hang out with us in there. Be sure to check out Quad Lock, link in the description. Get 10% off with code Jake10. Otherwise, we'll see you next video.